Physical atheist militant returned to life to tell what Jesus revealed. Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Alexandre Oliveira, and I have an incredible story to share with you today. A story that completely changed my life and my worldview. First of all, I want you to know that I am a scientist. I hold a PhD in quantum physics from the University of São Paulo, with postdoctoral work at CERN in Switzerland. Throughout my academic and professional life, I was a staunch defender of the scientific method and an unyielding critic of anything that couldn't be empirically proven. But what happened to me exactly 1 year ago challenged everything I believed I knew about the universe and our existence. It all started on a Tuesday afternoon like any other. I was in the laboratory, working on a new experiment related to string theory. It was an ordinary day, full of calculations, simulations, and heated discussions with my colleagues about the implications of our latest discoveries. I vividly remember looking at the clock and realizing it was already past 10 p.m. I decided it was time to go home. I grabbed my backpack, said goodbye to the few colleagues who were still in the lab, and stepped out into the cold night of São Paulo. As I walked to my car in the parking lot, my mind was still buzzing with the equations and theories we had discussed during the day. I was so absorbed in my thoughts that I barely noticed the approach of two men. Before I could react, I felt a strong blow to the head. Everything went dark. What happened next is something I never imagined possible, something that defied everything I believed about life, death, and the universe. When I opened my eyes, I was no longer in the university parking lot. In fact, I wasn't in any place I could recognize. It was as if I were floating in an infinite void. Yet at the same time, I felt more present and aware than ever before. It was then that I heard a voice that seemed to come from all directions at once, but also from within me. It was a voice that conveyed an indescribable peace and love. "Alexandra," said the voice, "do not be afraid. You are safe here." At that moment, all my scientific certainties, all my skepticism, all my intellectual arrogance, all of it vanished. I was in the presence of something far beyond my comprehension. The voice continued, "You spent your life seeking answers in equations and particles. Now, it is time for you to know the truth that lies beyond all of that." And so began my journey back to life. A journey that would lead me to question everything I believed about the universe, about existence, and about myself. In the next few minutes, I will share with you everything I saw, heard, and learned during this extraordinary experience. Get ready for a story that will challenge your beliefs, expand your mind, and perhaps change your life forever. But before we continue, I want to give you a warning. What you are about to hear is not fiction. It is not a story invented to entertain or gain followers. It is the true and honest account of my experience. An experience that transformed me from a staunch atheist into someone who now understands that there is far more in the universe than our scientific instruments can detect. So, if you are ready for a journey that will shake the foundations of your reality, come along with me. I promise that by the end of this narrative, you will never see the world in the same way again. The voice that guided me in that infinite void began to show me things I had never imagined possible. It was as if all the knowledge of the universe were being poured directly into my consciousness. I saw the creation of the universe, not as a chaotic explosion, but as a perfectly orchestrated symphony. Every particle, every wave of energy, every dimension unfolding in perfect harmony. It was breathtaking. "Alexandra," said the voice, "what you are seeing is only an infinitesimal fraction of reality. The universe you know through science is like a grain of sand on an endless beach." I was astonished. As a quantum physicist, I had always believed that we were close to unraveling the fundamental mysteries of the cosmos. But now I realized how limited our understanding truly was. The voice continued, "You devoted your life to seeking truth through science. That is noble. But science, in its current form, is like trying to understand the ocean by only looking at its surface." As these words echoed in my mind, I was transported through time and space. I saw incredibly advanced alien civilizations, some so ancient that they made our human history seem like a blink of an eye. I saw parallel dimensions where the laws of physics as we know them simply did not apply. And then something even more surprising happened. I began to see past lives, not just my own, but those of all the people who have ever existed. It was as if the entire history of humanity were unfolding before my eyes. I saw wars and peace, love and hatred, creation and destruction, and amidst it all, I saw a pattern emerging, a pattern of spiritual evolution, of souls learning and growing through countless incarnations. "Are you beginning to understand, Alexandra?" asked the voice. "Every life, every experience, every choice is part of a greater plan, a plan of cosmic evolution." I was completely stunned. Everything I believed about reality was being challenged, but the most incredible part was yet to come. Then the voice told me, "Now, Alexandra, you are going to meet someone you know well, but whom you have never truly understood." And it was then that I saw him, Jesus Christ, not as a distant historical figure or a religious icon, but as a being of such intense light and love that I could barely look at him directly. Jesus smiled at me and said, "Welcome, Alexandra. I know you have many questions." I was speechless. As a staunch atheist, I had always dismissed the existence of Jesus as nothing more than a myth. But here he was before me, more real than anything I had ever experienced. "You have spent your life searching for the truth, Alexandra," Jesus said, "and that is commendable. But the truth you were seeking is beyond the limits of current science. It lies in love, in compassion, in the connection with the divine that exists within every being." Tears began to stream down my face. All my intellectual arrogance, all my skepticism, suddenly seemed so insignificant. Jesus continued, "Science is not the enemy of spirituality, Alexandra. In fact, the more you discover about the universe, the closer you will come to understanding the greatness of divine creation." I had 1,000 questions about the origin of the universe, the purpose of life, what happens after death. And Jesus, with infinite patience and love, began to explain to me. What he revealed to me in the hours, or were they days? Time seemed to have no meaning there. That followed completely changed my understanding of reality. And that is what I want to share with you now. Prepare yourselves, because what comes next will challenge everything you believe you know about life, the universe, and our existence. Jesus began to explain to me the true nature of reality, and his words resonated with a truth that I could feel in every fiber of my being. "Alexandra E., he said, "the universe you know through science is only the tip of the iceberg. Reality is infinitely more complex and wonderful than you can imagine." He showed me how what we call matter is, in fact, condensed energy. How thoughts and emotions have a direct impact on the structure of the universe. How love, in its purest form, is the most powerful force that exists. "You are on the right track with string theory," Jesus smiled. "But there are many more dimensions than you suspect. And in each one, consciousness plays a fundamental role." He explained that what we call the soul is, in fact, a fragment of the divine consciousness, that each one of us is a unique expression of the Creator on a journey of self-discovery and evolution. "But what about evil?" I asked. "If we are all part of the divine, where does suffering, cruelty come from?" Jesus replied with compassion, "Free will is a precious gift, Alexandra. It allows for growth and evolution, but with it comes the possibility of making choices that cause pain. Evil is not an external force, but the result of choices made in the absence of love." He showed me how every action, every thought, every choice creates ripples that spread through the fabric of reality. How our lives are all interconnected in ways we can barely begin to understand. Science is beginning to glimpse this with quantum entanglement, Jesus explained. But it goes far beyond subatomic particles. Every being, every planet, every galaxy is connected in a cosmic web of consciousness. I was amazed by the complexity and beauty of what was being revealed. Yet I also felt small, insignificant in the vastness of the cosmos. As if reading my thoughts, Jesus said, "Do not be deceived, Alexandra. Every life is precious. Every being is fundamental to the divine plan. You are co-creators, partners in the evolution of the universe." Then he showed me something that took my breath away. The impact of a single altruistic act. I saw how a simple act of kindness created waves of light that spread throughout the universe, touching countless lives. "So that is why I have always taught about love," Jesus said. "It is not just a beautiful feeling, it is the most transformative force that exists." I asked him about the different religions, about the conflicts they have caused throughout history. Jesus smiled sadly. "Religions are like maps, Alexandra. They point to the truth, but they are not the truth itself. Many cling to the map and forget the journey. True spirituality lies in the direct experience of the divine, in unconditional love, in compassion for all beings." He showed me how, in essence, all the great spiritual traditions point to the same fundamental truth, how the prophets, the masters, the avatars throughout history were beacons of light, trying to guide humanity back to its true divine nature. "But what about you?" I asked. "Why are you so central in so many beliefs?" Jesus replied humbly, "My mission was to remind humanity of its true nature, to show that the kingdom of heaven is not a distant place, but a reality that can be experienced here and now, when we live in love." He explained that his teachings were often misunderstood, used to control and divide, when they should unite and liberate. "What you call miracles," Jesus said, "are simply manifestations of the power of love and faith. Each one of you has that potential within you." I was overwhelmed by everything I was learning. My scientific mind struggled to process information that went far beyond what I had ever believed possible. But Jesus was not finished. He had more to show me, more truths to reveal. And what came next completely changed my understanding of the purpose of life and the destiny of humanity. Then Jesus led me on a journey through what I can only describe as the history of the soul. I saw how each of us, as sparks of divine consciousness, embarks on a journey through countless lives, learning, growing, evolving. Each life is an opportunity for learning, Alexandra, Jesus explained. The hardships, the challenges, the joys and the sorrows, all of it is part of the cosmic curriculum. He showed me how what we call karma is not a system of punishment and reward, but a mechanism of balance and learning. How our choices in one life create the circumstances for our future experiences. But it is not about fixed destiny, Jesus clarified. At every moment, you have the power to make new choices, to change the course of your life, and to influence the fabric of reality. I saw people I knew in their past and future lives. I saw how souls grouped together, incarnating repeatedly to work on unresolved issues, to learn lessons of love and forgiveness. Your relationships are much deeper than you imagine, said Jesus. Those you love, those who challenge you, all are teachers, all are students in this great cosmic school. He showed me how Earth is a special place in the universe, a kind of accelerated school for souls. How beings from all over the cosmos come here to learn lessons that would take eons elsewhere. That is why life on Earth can be so intense, so challenging, Jesus explained. But it is also why the potential for growth here is so great. I saw civilizations on other planets, some so advanced that they seemed almost divine by our standards. But Jesus showed me that even these civilizations were still on their own journey of spiritual evolution. The universe is an infinite classroom, Alexander, he said, and love is the final lesson. Then, Jesus showed me something that left me deeply moved. The moment of my own death. I saw my body in the hospital, doctors trying to resuscitate me. I saw my family crying around me. But what impressed me most was seeing my own soul leaving my body. It was as if a veil had been lifted. I could see beings of light surrounding me, guiding me, comforting me. I recognized some of them as people I had loved and lost. Death, Alexandra, is not the end, Jesus said softly. It is only a transition, a return to your true home. He showed me what happens after death, the process of reviewing one's life, where every action, every thought is examined not with judgment, but with love and understanding. I saw how we plan our next incarnations, choosing the challenges and lessons we need to continue our evolution. But why don't we remember all this when we incarnate? I asked. Jesus smiled. Forgetting is a gift, Alexandra. It allows you to make authentic choices, to learn true lessons. But the knowledge is always there, deep within your soul. He showed me how we can access this wisdom through deep meditation, sincere prayer, and acts of selfless love. How we can reconnect with our true divine nature. Science and spirituality are not opposites, Alexandra, Jesus said. They are two sides of the same coin. Science explores the how of the universe. Spirituality explores the why. He explained that as science advances, it will inevitably come closer to spiritual truths. How quantum physics, neuroscience, cosmology are beginning to glimpse realities that mystics have known for millennia. Your role, Alexandra, Jesus said, looking deeply into my eyes, is to be a bridge. Use your scientific knowledge to help illuminate spiritual truths. Show that there is no real conflict between reason and faith when both are correctly understood. I felt the weight of that responsibility, but also an indescribable excitement. I realized that my entire life, all my pursuit of knowledge, had prepared me for this moment. But Jesus had more to show me, and what came next was something that completely changed my understanding of the purpose of life and the destiny of humanity. Jesus then led me to a vision of humanity's future. What I saw was both terrifying and inspiring. Humanity is at a turning point, Alexandra, Jesus said. The choices you make in the coming years will determine not only the future of planet Earth, but will have repercussions throughout the cosmos. He showed me potential scenarios. I saw a future where greed and fear led to environmental destruction, devastating wars, and mass suffering. But I also saw a future where humanity finally understood its true nature, uniting in love and compassion to create a civilization of peace and harmony. Free will is sacred, Jesus explained. We cannot interfere directly, but we are here, always, inspiring, guiding, and opening paths for light to enter. He showed me how every act of kindness, every choice based on love, every moment of elevated consciousness helps tip the scales in a positive direction. You are not alone on this journey, Jesus said. There are beings of light, what you would call angels, working tirelessly to help humanity, but they can only act through those who are open to receiving their guidance. I saw how the children being born now are highly evolved souls, coming to Earth specifically to help in this transition. I saw how technology, if used wisely, can be a force for good, uniting people and healing the planet. Artificial intelligence, Alexandra, Jesus said, surprising me, has the potential to be a blessing or a curse. It will depend on how you develop and use it. It can reflect your best qualities or your worst flaws. He showed me how science is on the brink of revolutionary discoveries, advances in quantum physics that will enable new forms of clean energy, breakthroughs in biology that will cure diseases once considered incurable. But I also saw the dangers, technologies that, in the wrong hands, could cause unimaginable destruction. Knowledge is a tool, Alexandra, Jesus warned. It is the intention behind it that determines whether it will be used for good or for evil. Then, Jesus showed me something that left me speechless, the true potential of human consciousness. I saw people performing what could only be called miracles. Instant healing, manipulating matter with thought, communicating telepathically. This is not science fiction, Alexandra. Jesus smiled. It is the next step in human evolution. As you awaken to your true nature, these powers will manifest naturally. He explained that many of the so-called miracles reported throughout history were simply manifestations of this latent potential within all of us. That as we evolve spiritually, our ability to interact directly with the fabric of reality increases. But remember, Jesus warned, with great power comes great responsibility. These gifts only fully manifest when aligned with divine love and wisdom. Jesus then showed me the crucial role that Earth plays in the grand cosmic scheme, how what happens here has repercussions throughout the universe. Earth is a unique experiment, Alexandra, he explained. A place where souls of different levels of evolution, from different parts of the cosmos, come together to learn and grow together. What you achieve here will serve as a model for countless other worlds. I was overwhelmed by the magnitude of what was being revealed. The responsibility that we all carry seemed crushing, as if reading my thoughts. Jesus said gently, "Do not fear, Alexandra. You are not alone on this journey. The entire universe is rooting for you." supporting you. Then he showed me something that filled my heart with hope and determination, the transformative power of a single awakened person. I saw how someone living in full consciousness, acting from unconditional love, can literally change the world around them. That is why every life is so precious, Alexandra, Jesus said. Each one of you has the potential to be a catalyst for global transformation. As I absorbed all of this, I felt a change happening inside me. It was as if every cell in my being was realigning with a deeper truth. I realized that nothing would ever be the same after this experience, but Jesus had one final revelation for me, a truth so profound, so transformative, that it would forever change the way I saw myself and the world around me. Jesus looked into my eyes and said, "Alexandra, now I will show you the most fundamental truth of all, the truth that, once fully understood, changes everything." He extended his hand, and the moment I touched it, I was flooded by a light so intense, so loving, that I thought my being would disintegrate. But instead, I felt more whole than I had ever been. In that moment, I experienced unity with everything that exists. I saw that there is no real separation between me and the rest of the universe, that we are all expressions of the same divine consciousness, like waves in the infinite ocean of being. "You are God experiencing himself, Alexandra," Jesus said softly, "just as I am, just as every being in the universe is." I then understood that what we call God is not a separate, distant entity, but the very essence of everything that exists, that each one of us is a unique and precious expression of that divine consciousness. "That is why I have always taught that the kingdom of heaven is within you," Jesus explained, "because you are, in essence, divine. The purpose of life is to awaken to this truth and live it fully." He showed me how all of creation is an act of divine love, how the universe is constantly expanding, evolving, creating new forms so that consciousness can experience and evolve. "The suffering you experience," Jesus said with compassion, "comes from forgetting your true nature, from the illusion of separation. But this illusion has a purpose. It allows you to experience the journey back to unity." I then understood that the deepest purpose of life is not to achieve some external goal, but to awaken to our true nature, to live from that understanding, expressing divine love in every thought, word, and action. Science, says Alexandra, Jesus smiled, is getting closer and closer to this truth. Quantum physics, the theory of the unified field, these are glimpses of the fundamental unity of all existence. He showed me how we can access this truth in our daily lives. Through deep meditation, selfless acts of love, and moments of genuine connection with other beings. Every time you love unconditionally, Jesus explained, every time you truly forgive, every time you act with compassion, you are living your true divine nature. Then, gently, Jesus brought me back to the awareness of my physical body. I was back in the hospital, surrounded by doctors and nurses, celebrating what they called a miracle. I opened my eyes, and the world looked new. Every person, every object, shone with an inner light that I had never noticed before. I knew that my life would never be the same again. In the days and weeks that followed, I struggled to integrate everything I had experienced. As a scientist, part of me wanted to rationalize and explain everything in terms that could be accepted by the academic community. But I knew that what I had lived went beyond any purely rational explanation. It was a truth that needed to be lived, experienced. I decided to dedicate the rest of my life to being a bridge between science and spirituality, to show that there is no real conflict between them, that both are paths to the same fundamental truth. I began to meditate regularly, to practice unconditional love in all my interactions. I saw my life transform in ways I never imagined possible. And now I am here, sharing this story with you. Not to convince you of anything, but to plant a seed of possibility. Perhaps you are skeptical. Perhaps you think that all of this is nothing more than a hallucination caused by a lack of oxygen in my brain. And that's okay. I am not here to convert anyone, but I invite you to consider the possibility that there is more in life, in the universe, in yourself than you have ever imagined. I invite you to look at the world with new eyes, to see the divinity in every person you encounter, to treat every moment as a sacred opportunity to express love. Because in the end, that is what this entire cosmic journey is about. Love, awakening to our true nature, creating a world that reflects the beauty and harmony that exist at the heart of reality. And you, yes, you who are listening to this now, have a crucial role to play in this great cosmic adventure. You are more powerful, more loved, more divine than you have ever imagined. So what will you do with this information? How will you live your life, knowing that you are an expression of the divine? What choices will you make, moment by moment, to create a world of more love, more compassion, more light? The journey is yours, the power is in your hands, and the entire universe is rooting for you. Thank you for listening. May the light of divine love illuminate your path, today and always.